Right on that.
No, I don't. Here. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, well, we hang it. They keep cutting editors. Keeps me busy. We're hanging in.
Probably.
On the table.
Okay, you have a photo on it?
Good. All right, thank you.
Oh, you're the accountant.
Go ahead,
Oh, you.
This Minnesota, or Mexican stuff. So, yeah, the same, yeah.
I have like one. You did your rocket jump me. I was your Instagram reels. I feel like you finished Instagram reels. Just sending you. Yeah, that's just my book. Now I need to. You don't play that song? Oh, yes, yes. Oh, definitely. No, I had to use the play shop so that I could change right on. And this is actually like 900 urban. I like, yeah, I know. Actually, I think I could people that. It's one. I shared a picture of this on the Discord. I gave it. It's not big. The assignment is to make.
Good evening, everyone. If you'd like to have a seat, we'll start the meeting. It's now
So it's the
7:30.
head of my little company.
My name is John Aller, I'm the moderator. I'm just reading from inside the back cover here. This is the morning for the annual village meeting. The legal voters of the village of North Bennington, the town of Bennington, the state of Vermont, are hereby notified and warned to meet at the village school of North Bennington, said village, on Tuesday, March 17th, 2026 at 7:30 in the afternoon to transact the following business. 1, to hear and dispose of the reports of the village officers for the year. 2, to see what sum the village will vote to cover appropriations made at this meeting and for the current and incidental expenses or authorize the trustees to borrow the necessary funds for that purpose. Authorize the trustees to spend unanticipated revenue and also authorize the trustees to set the tax rate upon the completion of the grant list. 3, to elect a moderator, clerk, treasurer, collector of taxes, and 3 auditors for the ensuing year, and 2 trustees for 3 years. 4, shall the voters of the village of North Bennington resolve to be a part of the apartheid-free community movement in Vermont. 5, to discuss any other business found proper when met. Okay, so we'll go to item number 1. There are representatives for some of the different, offices and things here in the village. So we can go to that. If there are any questions or anything, we'll direct us to whomever, okay? Are there any questions at all? Regarding item one? Wow. If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion to, that as presented. Is there a motion? Yes, Mary?
I think there's people that wanted to say something about their report.
Yeah, that's fine.
So is this the time for them
Yes,
to raise their
yes.
hands? Okay.
So, yeah, go right ahead. Yeah.
Okay, where shall I be?
Just stand right up and just.
All right. I had no idea I had capitals here, the village officer. So, hi, everybody. I'm Jenny Rosicki. I'm the director at the McCullough Library here in North Bennington. It's so nice to see so many of our neighbors here this evening. I'm really pleased to report that we had a great year at the library, and we invite you to be part of the current year. That'll be a great year at the library. I have library sign-up cards with me if you'd like to activate your account and take advantage of everything the library offers. I guess 2 highlights. I just did my big report to the Department of Libraries last Monday, and I'm really pleased to report that we loaned over 7,000 more items last year than we did the year before, which was a substantial. Was it a 17% increase, I think, for the calendar year, which is remarkable. And also our summer reading program. We had 164 kids, which was, again, an increase for the number of kids who registered. And together they read over 300,000 minutes. And a couple of other thousands and some change on that. The exacts are kind of not sticking in there. So, which was really great. And I just invite you to come and see us at the library and find out what we can do for you. So for the year ahead, let's see. The year ahead, we are looking to do a few more building improvements at the library. You may have noticed our new shelves. One of our neighbors here asked, what's ahead? So, building improvements, we just installed new shelves on the first floor. If you haven't seen them, come on over, take a look. They're also accessible for folks who use a wheelchair or a walker. And they're very attractive, so hope you'll come and see them. We're also pursuing a large grant, to redo some of the entryways. So we're repairing the front entrance and the back entrance and just more improvements along those lines. Does that answer your question, Janice? Yeah, thank you. Folks.
Hi folks, I'm reporting from Garden Recreations. It's great to see such a huge crowd here. For those of you who were here last year at this time, our report was a very difficult and sad one because of the drowning that happened in the summer of 2024, which has had a huge impact upon many people in our community, the family in particular, but also us as an organization. And we came here to tell you about how difficult that had been for everyone involved, but also to sort of set a path forward. And for the last year, we've been really working very hard with our community to figure out who we need to be now moving into the future. And I guess it's been an amazing experience, really, because I think when you listen to people, when you really try to engage with people and listen to what they have to say, it can really create an amazing amount of collaboration and positive energy. And so we've worked very hard this year. I don't think I knew when I was here last March that our insurance was going to double in price, even more than double, which almost forced us to close because that was, we run on a very small budget anyway, and that huge increase for us was something that we weren't sure we were gonna be able to, deal with and be able to afford. But because people in this community are so supportive and generous, we did receive 2 challenge grants and were able to raise $50,000 between last June and October, which allowed us to not only pay for the increased insurance costs, but also because we had not really raised any funding, the prior year, we were in a pretty difficult position. So it allowed us to move forward. We had, contracted our staffing, so we did have to adjust our budget and make it a little bit smaller, but we all know what that's like. We've had to do it in our own families, so it's something that we did. We also hosted 12 listening sessions with community members to hear their feelings about what had happened that summer, but also to sort of tap into their ideas about how we could move forward. And we really listened very carefully to that and used a lot of the ideas that people came up with to do that, to move forward. We have a new mission statement, and we've sort of rebranded ourselves, I guess you could say, as more of a community center than as exclusively a place for recreation. And our mission statement says that we promote the well-being of individuals, the community, and the natural landscape through education and recreation. We foster belonging by hosting and maintaining a welcoming space for all to gather. And I know a lot of you have been to the lake over the last year. There are people here who have volunteered to start programs and clubs. There's an Italian movie night on Tuesday nights, which was postponed tonight so that people could come here. There's a ping pong club on Thursdays. Sometimes 35 and 40 people show up to that. We have yoga, we have Tai Chi, we have all sorts of events going on. We have also helped to start a watershed group. We've tried for many years to be the stewards of the lake, and although we still see ourselves that way, it's a much bigger project than we can do on our own. So we've worked with a couple of the other environmental groups in the region to start the Bloomsack Watershed Alliance, and that will be a kind of a magnet for work around the lake, but also trying to protect the entire watershed. Today, we just received news of a grant for watershed education, so we'll be running watershed education workshops over the summer on the health of the lake and the surrounding environment. We've also found a private donor to pay for us doing the meeting this summer in the lake, which is a huge boon for us and everybody who likes to be in the lake, to fish, to boat, and to swim. So we're looking forward to getting the boat out there sometime in June and getting rid of the nuisance weeds. And we are launching a fundraising campaign called Day by Day, where we hope people in the community will help us to move forward and continue to care. So we look forward to seeing everybody at the lake. Come to the lake, go jump in. I jumped in the other day. It's very cold.
Are there any other representatives from the lake or other places there that'd like to share?
I wonder if we could invite Tim Newbold to speak a little bit about middle school operations and education reform. But first, I'd like to point out that there is a dedication at the beginning of this report to a person that most of you will know, Pat Gibbons, who retired last year. And you're free to read it. I'm not going to. I don't know if Tim is willing. I didn't ask him.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Tim Newbold. I'm the head of the village school here in North Bennington. And I guess Ray just wanted me to touch base with some of the things around education reform that are occurring right now. And Will is another person who you can talk to later on. He's one of our local representatives. But this is a very important year for the legislative process in Vermont. The governor and the Secretary of Education have asked the state to respond to the crisis around funding and costs of people's property taxes and things like that. What has been resounding for this community for many, many years is we overwhelmingly support our own education budgets and the tuition for the village school. So that is just a very powerful statement to the rest of the state that we enjoy what we do here. We are proud of what we're doing here and how it's operating for our kids and our community. So I hope you, as representatives of our community, can speak to your representatives and voice your opinions about education in our state, because what they are thinking about doing is there's two very different proposals that are rising up now. I don't know which one will gain momentum, but one will change this district entirely, which would change it from a non-operating district to an operating district, which would mean education choice and schools like the village school will no longer exist, or Southshire, or some of the other schools that people can choose from. If they go with the other option, which would allow this to still remain an area that has supervisory unions, this district could still exist and could still offer choice going on into the future. And I can say, I've been here now for 10 years, and what this school does for kids is truly, truly remarkable. And it is a gift to this community that this school is able to do what it does, and I hope we can maintain it going into the future. But just keep your ears open, be mindful of what's happening in the news, because this is going to be a very controversial topic going forward this year. And I hope everybody stays on top of it, and please support education in whatever form you feel is the best way. But make your voices heard. So thank you very much. Thank you, Rick.
I would like to add two points to that, which points I made in the annual floor meeting of the school. The governor wanted budgets restricted and costs to reduce. And I pointed out at that meeting that in fact, this district lowered its cost to the education fund. And we actually achieved something that I didn't really believe could happen, but our per pupil spending is the lowest in the SCSU except for Sandgate, which is the other non-operating district in ESU. So I thought we had done rather well by the request from the governor we outdone what he asked.
Is there any more discussion on item 1? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the reports of the village office. Yeah, sorry, I'm just, if there's no more discussion, I'd entertain a motion to approve the reports of the village officers as presented. Right. Okay, so is there a motion? Yeah, I thought you made the motion. No, I can't make the motion. Okay, there's a second. Second motion, okay, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Now we'll go on to item 2, okay? Talk about appropriations made at the meeting. That we probably talk those things.
How's everybody doing? For everybody that doesn't know me, my name is Doug Bugey. I'm the village treasurer, tax collector, delinquent tax collector, utility man, all those types of things. I'm gonna hit one item first that always comes up. Folks ask about this from time to time. It is the reassessment process that the village of North Bennington falls under for Bennington. I spoke to the assessor in Bennington last week. The preliminary work is going to begin in the summer of 2027. So we're a full year away from the preliminary work. The final grand list is scheduled for April 1st, 2030. So we're quite a ways away from reassessment. So that process is a lengthy one. Right now, the firm, they have a contract in place. The firm is working in Rutland City and Brattleboro, so those take some time to finish up. So that's the update for that piece. The budget, everything that I'm gonna talk about and summarize is in the reports, which there are some on the table here and there are some over there. Folks need it, so I'm just gonna kind of summarize some of the pieces in there. If you have any questions at the end, let me know. So the total budget, as projected is $885,629. That is outside of any projected income, that is there. So that's the spending. This, as it sits, would lead to an estimated tax increase of just 5.89%, which is very close to last year, which was only 5.71. The final tax rate is set in August. The village's fiscal year ends June 30th. So there's that month buffer to get everything organized, see where there may be overages, where there may be funds that can be used to reduce those. The categories, the general government, there was an increase of just $1,200. Fire department budget increase of approximately $8,000, and that was spread across most of their line items. Public Works, increase of approximately $6,000. The majority of that is for the completion of Welling Field. For folks that don't know, Norm and the highway crew completely redid Welling Field. And that should be done this spring. It's going to be nice and level. They're going to begin using it again as athletic fields for local soccer, lacrosse, potentially baseball, softball, other items. The bulk of that was done through ARPA funds. So the village used a portion of the ARPA funds to be able to redo that. Highway increase is little over 22,000. And that is spread over several new equipment projects, payroll, and salt and sand. Allocations and insurance increase was approximately 8,500. And there was one increase to organization, and insurance costs obviously are going up. The portion to, let's see, how was it written here? To borrow the necessary funds for purposes. Typically, the village's loans are for equipment. It's very rare that loans are taken outside of that. There was one particular year, 3 years ago, that a tax anticipation note was used because of timing of grant funds that were coming in from the state. Other than that, it's typically just for smaller pieces of equipment. We have sinking funds for most large pieces of equipment, and especially within the highway department, we've gotten to a point where we're on a nice cycle that it's fully funded. Some of the bigger pieces obviously need to have financing. That's my summary. If anybody has any questions. Yes.
Steve Lyons, College Road. Not a question, just a comment. One is to thank Norm and Kyle for an exceptional job clearing our roads.
Yes.
All you have to do is drive over the line to the next town and say, I guess I'm not doing many. Thank you to all of you for all the volunteer work that you do in our district. Yes.
Janice Larigo. I just wanted to, I see that our, revenue is generally above what we budgeted.
Yes.
And I just wanted to get, and you said evaluation is down the line. I mean, so can you explain kind of what's driving that?
Yeah, so the revenue piece can fluctuate year to year. So some of the revenue is through the highway department. When Norm needs a piece of equipment for a particular job, he's part of a surplus program where he can buy a piece of equipment, keep it for a certain period of time, and then sell that. He's been successful in being able to get a return on those, and then it turns around to get the next piece of equipment. But it does get marked as income. We've been able to do well with interest income on the sinking funds, and as we're holding the tax funds until the bills come in. So the interest funds are there. Grant money, if we get grant, that does show as an income. So those are all different types that can go. We try not to project too high because we'd rather have the income come in and then be able to use it as an offset. Well, like I said, when we set the tax rate.
Mhm.
So if we have a surplus, we can carry it over, which would then reduce what we would need for a tax rate. And that's why the tax rate doesn't get set until August, so we can see where everything shakes out. Those are typically the sources of income. There's really not too many other. Highway gets, state aid, but that's pretty level. It goes up a tiny bit each year. The year before, actually, when there was the hurricane that came through, they did give an excess at the beginning of the year because if you remember, it hit kind of at the end of the summertime. So that was our first quarter. So there was an increase that year for highway because they anticipated having to do tree work and things like that from the extensive damage.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And the other thing is, it looks like there's some changes in how, village employees are being paid in this budget. There's, nothing budgeted for, it says 0, for two of the positions. So I'm just wondering if things have been reorganized or what.
Which part are you looking at?
First page of the
Okay.
budget.
Yeah.
Page 9, or whatever it is.
Yep, page 9.
Is it 9?
Yep. Oh, the secretary and the bookkeeper?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yes, so basically what that is, Lori and myself technically have 2 titles, but we do both of those pieces. So when we enter things in our accounting software, it goes on 1 line. In this budget has traditionally been 2, so we have to then break it apart. So going forward, we're gonna just put it onto 1.
That's
So
what
the
I thought
total-
might have happened. Yeah.
Exactly. So if you
Yeah.
look the prior year, the total of village treasurer and village bookkeeper equals what this year's treasurer total is. And then the same for secretary and clerk. So same position, same people, just broken out differently. Thank you.
Make it a little easier.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
If there are no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve number 2.
Also move.
Motion, second, and seconded. All those in favor of approving item 2, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, so now we'll go on to item 3, to elect moderator, clerk, treasurer, collector of taxes, and 3 auditors for the ensuing years. Trustees for 3 years. And did you have a certain way you were gonna set that up, or we going to just go right by items? So, so if you look on page 5, you'll see the current officers. Okay, yeah. So we want to just go right down the line.
Do you want to go over?
Sure, sure. Okay. Yeah. Wait, no, we can just, we can go in.
Moderator.
Sure, so we'll go right down the line. So we'll entertain any, motions for moderator.
Make a motion for John Ulrich.
Second.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually decline for this particular year. So we'll take someone else.
I motion for Alyssa Del Tufo. I second.
Alyssa, are you okay with that? The moderator for the year? Be the moderator for the next year? We got it.
That's very nice.
You decline?
She.
Okay, all right. Are there any other nominations?
John Lamson.
John Lamson? Is there a second? John, are you okay with it?
I'll accept the nomination.
Okay, are there any other nominations?
Move for nomination.
Okay, all right. All those in favor of John, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? John, I'll let you take over here.
It's like, drink water.
I found it.
How long have you been in this job? I think this is a little unusual as far as procedure goes, because you're nominating for next year as not this year. Um, as far as I read the rules, I think we can proceed if the body of voters wants to allow it.
Yeah.
So is there a motion to suspend the rules to allow me to conduct the meeting as the moderator tonight?
I'll make that.
I motion to suspend the rules.
Can you say your name?
I'm Nora Dyer Murphy.
Nora Dyer Murphy, and is there a second? Mr. Nowak seconds the motion, and is there any further discussion on that motion that's been made? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of suspending the rules to allow the replacement moderator for this evening, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed with the business. Are there any nominations for clerk this evening?
I nominate L'Oreal.
Lori Elwell's been nominated. Are there any further nominations for clerk?
I second.
Well, before we do that, are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations for clerk? Hearing none, the motion's been made for a clerk. Is there a second on the motion?
Yes,
Second. I've heard a second. Lori, did you get a second?
I did.
Okay, there's been a second. And all those in favor of Lori Elwell for the village clerk, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried unanimously. Are there any motions for the treasurer of the village?
I nominate Doug Bugie.
Nomination's been made for Doug Bugie. Are there any further nominations for the treasurer? Are there any other nominations for treasurer this evening? Are there any more nominations for treasurer? Hearing none, we'll close the nominations. And the motion has been made by Ms. Rogers for Doug Bugie to be treasurer of the village of North Bennington. Is there a second on that motion?
I'll make a second.
Mr. Rogers, Mr. Nolan over here. Thank you. And is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, is all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? I'm sure Mr. Bugie wouldn't be offended. There are none opposed. The motion carries unanimously. Is there a nomination for collector of taxes?
Nominate Doug Bugie.
Okay. Are there any further nominations? Any further nominations? This one isn't real popular. I would, we'll close the nominations without objection. And there's a motion been made for Doug Bugie to be collector of taxes. May I have a second? There's been a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of Doug Bugie for collector of taxes, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. There's a position for 3 auditors. We would welcome any person that would like to run for auditor. Mr. Bugie can explain why that would be an important role.
So way back when the charter was established for the village of North Bennington, there was 3 auditors that were selected to review books. That has kind of become outdated as time has progressed. And the way that the charter reads is it has to be 3 or none. the village is in the process of switching to annual audits. The village had done every 3-year audit, which met the state statute. We are in the process of switching. We switched, accounting firms to RHR Smith, a year ago. They are in the process of doing the prior 2 years audits. Once those are completed, they'll be on the website. Next year, it'll be in the annual report. So those positions at this point in time would just be to look things over before the information went to the audit firm that does the full audit for the village's finances. So that being said, you can ask if there's nominations, and in order for it to meet statute, you would have to have them.
Okay.
And there hasn't been any in well over 10 to 15 years.
But Ray was an auditor once with
I
me.
was. It turned out I was illegally an auditor because I was on the school board. And I
The floor is open to nominations for village auditor. Are there any nominations for that position? Are there any nominations for village auditor? Okay, hearing none, I think we will dispense with that provision and move on to the following one. And as Mr. Bucci said, we are in compliance with the law, being as we have an audit. The next is to elect 2 trustees. These are 2 3-year periods, 2 3-year terms for trustee. And I would entertain any nominations for village trustee at this time. Okay, there's been a nomination for David Shaughnessy. And I will ask if there are any other nominations at this point before we move on to approval. Are there any further nominations for village trustee?
Tara Lowry.
I have some questions. It's not clear to
Is
me.
this a point of order, sir?
Yeah, I have some questions. Two people here. We have 2 3-year terms, and we're reading 2 in 2027, so they have another year going on. And Tara is in 26, so I don't quite understand that. Can somebody explain that to me, please?
Well, not really fair. I think.
I know that, but I'm just.
Right, so I think it bears explanation, so we'll just,
So
I'll ask
the
the clerk.
terms that we have open are Tara Lowry, position is open. And Matthew Patterson's position is open.
Oh, I didn't see that. That was it.
So there are 2 3-year terms, and John, I believe, we would like to take them at the same time.
Well, I'll see how many nominations we have first, and then I think we can go ahead with that if the body would like to do that. So we have a nomination for David Shaughnessy, and we have a nomination for Tara Lowry. Are there any further nominations?
Nominate Matthew Patterson.
There's been a nomination for Matthew Patterson. Are there any further nominations?
Jeannie Jenkins.
There's nomination for Jeannie Jenkins.
Matthew, did you?
And I'm
decline?
declining.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any further nominations? Any further nominations at this time? Okay, so we have 2 open positions and we have 3. So we may take a voice vote if we'd like, or we can, the body may ask for a paper ballot, which may be easier in this instance where we can vote by paper ballot, and then the 2 top vote getters would take the 2 positions, and it would be done with one. Is there a question? Yes, would anyone who's nominated like to introduce themselves to the village?
Yes. My name is David Shaughnessy. I've lived in the Bennington area most of my life. In 1985, my wife Judy and I bought a house on Houghton Street, fixer upper, that's still a fixer upper. But anyway, in 1986, I was part of the planning commission and zoning board of adjustment. At that time, was one board, or was one group of people in two boards. So we come in, have our planning meeting, sign off, and jump right in the zone. We also had a very poor set of bylaws, and, a great group in there, and we completely rewrote the bylaws. Much of which I'm proud to say is the foundation of existing bylaws that here now, and many people have amended and improved that. I was also a water commissioner from, 2013, so 2023. Oh yes, I'm sorry, zoning administrator, chairman of the planning commission, vice chair of the zoning board. So I've been around for a while. Our children have been raised here. I am not a familiar face because I work in Williamstown, and I'm a partner in an architectural firm down in Williamstown. You know, I share with you all the problems that we have in the village, and you all know about them: traffic, the situation with the school, you know, roads, what is Lake Tarrant, all this. But, you know, we are blessed with all these assets in the village that makes it a great village. But most especially, we're blessed with the talented people that have volunteered all these years in the various boards and committees in this village to keep things going, to make it a special village. But I hope you support it. Thank you.
Sarah, would you like to introduce yourself to the group? Thank you.
My name is Tara Lowry. I have lived in North Bennington since 2005. Transplant from New Jersey, apologies. In 2016, I ran for a position on the trustees and didn't achieve it. Shortly after, Bill Scully stepped down from his position, so I took on a partial term and then got elected in the next term that I was available. Have served ever since. I also am on the Development Review Board, so helping with the zoning policies and zoning issues that arise in our village. I love the village and the spirit that it embodies, and I want to represent all of you as much as I can. It has taken me the 7 years that I've been on this board to figure out how it works. There is definitely a learning curve, but it's been really informative, and I hope that our small government can help to support the community and represent the community for our larger government, or in spite of it. So that's what my goal has been for the past several years, and I hope to keep serving. I'll still be a DRB member unless I get booted from there, no matter what. But I'm here for all of you and always welcome to listen.
I believe there's been a third nomination, then maybe if someone could introduce that third person. I know there's a difficulty with her being here tonight.
Yes, that is Jeannie Jenkins. For those of you who do not know Jeannie, you probably have seen or heard of her because she was the select board chair in Bennington for quite a number of years. She now lives for the last several years on Prospect Street and has been very involved in coming to the village meetings and interested in school boards. Serves on this board of the South Shire School. Also very, very involved in many of the other village issues. She has been stuck in airports for several days and is now in the middle of the air somewhere. So she would have dialed in, but can't do that. So that's the best I can do for her.
Okay, so there's 3 nominations. And this is for two positions. May I have if there's, I think just to cover our bases, I'd like to have seconds for each of the nominees. So is there a second for Tara Lowry's position? There's a second. Is there a second for, David Shaughnessy's position? Running seconds, yes, thank you. Is there a second for Jeannie Jenkins? Great, Mr. Johnson.
Okay.
And so,
Question,
yes,
just clarification, we're residents but not registered voters here. Are we not supposed to vote?
No.
the meeting is for registered voters.
Right.
Yeah,
So we have a checklist here.
we can certainly speak to an issue, but
Yeah,
we would,
just wanted to make sure I understood, yeah.
and you should, so the motions and the voting should be made by folks that are on the village checklist. Okay, there's 3 nominations and 3 motions for these positions, and so I would entertain a motion to vote by paper ballot if the body would so move.
And can someone spell the names out? Or just maybe just put them up?
I can do all 3 of them.
Yeah.
Or do you want it written somewhere?
Yeah.
Well,
That would be helpful.
I can see if I can operate the computer, I guess.
I mean, I don't have to have Shaughnessy spelled correctly, because I know that'll be one, but just so you know that.
maybe he could spell it.
John, if I can amend to that motion, could we do a show of hands vote in lieu of a paper ballot vote?
So so we can do a voice vote, we can do a show of hands, or we can do a paper vote. But if a paper vote is called for, then we need to do the paper vote. Okay, so is there, I'm just going to assume that we would be okay with a voice vote, but is there a motion for a paper vote? And there has been, and was there a second, or is there a second? There's a second for a paper vote. And I will ask the body, is all those in favor of voting by paper ballot, please indicate by saying aye. All those opposed? Okay, that was easier than I thought. All right, and then obviously the purpose to maintain anonymity and everything.
Yeah,
so.
we all be signing these votes, so she will know we are registered voters.
No,
No, this
So you-
is on the honor system.
no, it's not. So, Doug and I will be checking your name off, on our voter checklist, which are new today, so they're pretty up to date. And then if your name is on the checklist and you want to vote, we will give you a paper ballot and a pencil. And please put both names or however many people you're voting for, no more than 2, on this yellow slip, please. And when you're done with that, we'll get that box done, because I didn't expect this. So I don't have a really good ballot box. And you can put your ballots right in there, and then Doug and I will count them when everyone's voted. Does that sound okay?
I can take it, man.
We're gonna have.
Their question.
Go by first name, because no one's been able to spell some person.
Yeah.
That's
So-
okay.
It's,
I'm sorry. I mean,
Go
you
ahead.
want me to be smart? First names are fine. We have Jeannie, we have David, we have Tara.
all right, so.
Yeah, we do it here and then we have to go back.
Okay. So
Yeah.
anybody who's, oh,
Yes, question, sir.
People are asking, so you're gonna give us 1 piece of paper or 2 pieces of paper?
You're gonna get 1 piece of paper and you can put,
Both names.
Up to 2 names.
so we'll ask that anybody who is a registered voter and wishes to vote, Lori and I will form 2 lines to try to get you as efficiently through as possible.
Yeah.
If you just registered to vote today, please go to Lori's lot.
There's a line of us. We're kind of out of line, I guess.
Nothing, I just wanted the newer, young people.
Budget here. You're great.
You registered?
I don't
Well, you'll be on, well, if you're registered, you'll be on.
I am, but you know.
Okay. Yeah. Should we? Might cause clumsy people like.
You know what, I could probably unplug, I could unplug one, so yeah, just, let's unplug the one that's a little here, because this is just a power cord.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably, that's the best way. Thank
Just
you.
throw it back on whenever it's done. So here.
Yeah. You have the same last name.
Make it easier.
Yeah.
Did you not notice how I said everything I? I'm gonna be honest. That's February. I think you can. I was.
I'll take your word for it.
What else do I know?
He's like, I got you. I know you. That's how that literally went.
Board meeting.
So the board trustee was like, I saw something you guys did.
New York. Down there.
Like two.
We go get.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
Right back there. Wait, first. Ian Trey down there. Gary? They were like,
That's all right.
share it with us. He said, no, I don't. I don't do that. Yeah, she's what, 47? Actually, she just texted me. She's not just looking out. And you shall make me one this weekend. She invited me up to camp, but I couldn't go because
Yeah. Yeah, you wow.
Yes, here. You know, you used to coach one of them, yeah. Which generation was it though? Still do. I don't know. Been doing it for almost 49 years. Yeah, Teresa, our daughter Teresa, your daughter saved my husband's life.
Tricia.
Yeah. And, actually, you might have been the second generation to Trayvon or Chinese.
I know names out of
I'm so proud of those kids. You know, they can see really well what this school does. It did, I don't know about now, I haven't had kids in that. But before, every child I got in this school. Trayvon made $10,000. Uh-huh. And he still wants his little Nissan.
You know, I met your daughter. Yeah.
I need. Wonderful team that is there, that needs to be legally stamped with a return address.
Yeah.
I have a very, very personal relationship with my local library. If I'm willing to, if I can, then I'm gonna get. Okay, so who was it?
There was a multitude of people. And there were no eight people. Maybe there. Walked up. Today, those people talking about.
Do I have everybody's ballots? Okay, we're gonna count them. Thank you.
Huh? Well, the fact that the government paid the Democrats for blocking equipment
Oh, the
from paying
the
TSA.
Well, isn't there part of, The,
Right.
Just in this section, we'll count that.
I know you, that's why I got that right.
Hey, they got pre-approved.
I've been told, I went, can't see why the wife would say that if I think about that's my background. My life is the same there. What's your favorite? They're my favorite. That's actually not true. I love driving.
oh,
I can see that I'm on. My mom is not young.
yeah, well, I. But it's different. It's a experience for
Oh, yeah.
That's the challenge. Like. Meeting, I never been in for town meeting. Go back there. Oh, well, in.
All right, would everyone be seated, please? We're gonna proceed with the meeting. The votes are being counted and we're gonna proceed with the meeting while they're counted so that we can, in the interest of time. Then, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Shall the voters of the village of North Bennington resolve to be a part of the apartheid-free community movement in Vermont? So is there a motion for item number 4? It's so moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. Excuse me?
Sorry, I didn't know what the motion was.
The motion is, shall the voters of the village of North Bennington resolve to be a part of the apartheid-free community movement in Vermont? There's been a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion?
Is there participation?
So what, I'm just going to use my discretion as moderator. Thank you for that, this evening. Just to go over a couple of ground rules real quick. So, what I'd like to just remind folks is that the maker of the motion has the right to speak first if they wish. If they don't, then any member has the right to speak. And actually, everyone has the right to speak twice. However, you need to wait till everybody has had one turn in order to make your second speech, okay? And the Roberts rules say that we need to limit our speeches to 10 minutes. I hope that we can do better than that. I would just ask for your consideration of everybody's time this evening and try to be as brief as you can and still articulate what you need to say. I will, I don't know everyone's opinion on a matter, but the other thing that is traditional is that you would have someone from one side and then another side of an issue if possible. And depending on what you'd like to say, if you could try to respect that balance a little bit, that would be helpful, although that's not always the case. Sometimes there's a lot on one and not that many on another. So that, I think that's it. So if there is someone that would like to speak on this issue, you're welcome to take the floor. Please state your name and stand so that we can see who you are.
Janice had asked for a summation of the.
There's a presentation. So if you said that the person who made the motion.
Yes.
Speak,
Yes,
so I made the motion.
Okay.
So I'll speak for a second, and that would be to invite Robert Novak up to give, he has a brief presentation to give that kind of, will give more context for this pledge. If that's all right.
of course.
Okay.
You are the body, you control I'm just moderating.
Good evening. I'm glad to see so many people here. My name is Robert Novak, Main Street. I got my high school diploma on this stage. I was the last graduating class of in BHS. So it's nice to be here. So you can turn that. It takes a while to get the, maybe I'm close though. Oh, mine's up.
I did unplug this.
Oh. So, introductory remarks, I just want to say that, town meetings are cherished tradition, and we are thankful that we have this. It's nice to see everybody here. In past times, there have been a lot of political issues that town meetings have been local issues and non-local issues. This is something that's in our heritage. It's in our heritage. And I would like to say that it was nice. I'm glad to report that last night, Shasberry did not flinch and they became an apartheid-free community. So they went ahead and did that. And I'd also like to say that a lot of times, small beginnings like this lead to larger things. I would also like to add that in Brattleboro last year, they passed it by ballot, and they passed it with the enthusiastic and strong support of the Jewish Voice for Peace. And there was a gentleman there, I've gone over there to their events, and there was an elderly Jewish gentleman who said that his religious teachings made it imperative that he would fight for justice for Palestinians. Oh, get this up. And so. There you go. Here, please, that place. Like that. Right, last one. So. Did everybody see that? This was my introduction to what I call Palestine. This is Wallajah, El Wallajah, very close to Bethlehem. When I first went there, I stayed with a family in Bethlehem, and he took me on a tour. And he said, we took a corner, he said, there was a house there last week. There was a house there last week. And I'll go into that later. We'll come back to this. But what I want you to notice, if you can see this, is the wall around that village. So remember that, we'll come back to that. But that was my introduction to the Holy Land, to see a church that had been a church home that had been destroyed, rubble, completely rubble. Next one. This is a little history. We'll go through it very quickly. Historic Palestine. Next one, please. Shrinking. This is the Palestinian lands in green. Shrinking. Next one. Shrinking. Next one. And now we are there, and there's even shrinking as we speak today. It's getting smaller all the time. Getting so what's they call the loss of land. The loss of land. So we're talking, of course, about apartheid, and I just want to read you two things. One's from Amnesty International, 2022 report. We conclude this treatment amounts to an institutionalized regime of oppression and domination defined as apartheid under international law. The next one is the International Court of Justice. The International Court of Justice affirmed the Palestinian people's right to self-determination and found Israel responsible for racial segregation and apartheid, violating international law. Next one, please. Well, this is a picture. This is from a refugee camp in Bethlehem, Ida camp. And what I want you to look at, notice, is the water tanks on top. I'll be talking about apartheid. That means apartheid of resources, apartheid of land. And I'll start with water. Water. And why do they have those tanks on the top of their houses? It's because they only get water every now and then. Israel controls the water in Palestine. And that's why they need those water tanks. Now, I went there, when I was there, the apartment I stayed in got water twice a week. Some months later, it was once every 2 weeks, and later, it was not at all. No water at all. And I called the guy, my landlord, my friend, and I asked him, this is a text I got from him before Christmas of last year. Water comes once a week, sometimes every 3 weeks. Last summer, I bought 3 tanks for $300. This is in addition to the monthly bill of $70. Even if the water does not arrive to our house, in Berzate, water shortage is a nightmare. And the next one. He can see from his back room of Palestinian, what we call settlements, Israeli settlements. I call them colonies. He can see this, and they get water 24/7. They get water 24/7. Well, he sometimes gets no water at all. You can see, I mean, there are no tanks there. There's swimming pools there, etc. That's what he can see. When he doesn't have water, he sees, and this is built on stolen land. This is built on stolen land. Okay, next. Now we're going to talk about movement. Movement, getting from one place to another. Here we see dual roads. They're roads that are for Israelis only. Israelis only. And I'm positive that this road, one side of it, goes to a settlement, that an illegal settlement, from getting from, let's say, Jerusalem to a settlement. Next one, please. There are roadblocks that you can find, they just come up. Here's one, temporary, you come to it, you have to stop. You have to stop. Some places you aren't allowed to go at all. Some places are temporary, sometimes you wait for an hour, sometimes you wait for half an hour, sometimes for 5 hours. And we have a next one, you have to set that off now. You gotta go over there.
Okay, so I'll keep this picture here for reference. Me and my family yesterday went to Ramallah to buy some groceries, and I live in Derdiwan, and Derdiwan is not really far from Ramallah. It's like 15 minutes in the car, so it's really, really close. But basically happened is that there's like hedges or like a checkpoint between Ramallah and Derdiwan, which is called the DCO, right? So usually there are a lot of cars there, and like especially during during the time that kids leave school and employees leave their work, I don't know what this time is called, I forgot. So before I continue, I don't know actually to call this car. This car is for the occupation, right? And there's not soldiers inside of it, but Israelis inside of it who are armed and everything. So, you see this car, it was standing like that, right? So all cars were passing, and when we wanted to pass, they slid in front of us like that. So we were just so close to actually hit their car. They did that on purpose. They slid the last second. Think of my dad was in a rush. So he was driving slowly. And if he wasn't like so fast in actually stopping the car before we hit them, they would have probably shoot us, because that happened actually kind of long time ago when, if you actually, it doesn't matter if it's an accident or not. And they did that on purpose. They slid in front of us like that. You see, as in the picture, hindered us from, passing this checkpoint. That was traumatizing. Like, imagine if my dad was actually rushing and he actually hit their car, they would have shoot us without question. Because, as I told you, it doesn't matter if it's an accident or not. And they did that on purpose, by the way. It was the last second. They could have just warned us that they're going to close it or just move their car or something. But yeah, they stopped their car just like that. No, I just thought to tell you about this story, like if you want to write about it, maybe
That's fine.
someday, or,
Yep.
to show people how.
So that's Sarah, very scared. In fact, when I was in Palestine once, there was a girl, 17-year-old girl who was going through Ramallah. And she was going through a checkpoint and she was shot. I don't know the details. But when you hear those things, everybody like Sarah there, they fear for their life. And the thing is, when you talk about the water, they say, the Israelis can say, we can have water and you can't. We control this. And they can also say, we control where you go. We can go any place in this country, but you can't. You can't. And we control that. But they can also go other places. That picture with Sarah was taken on at Berzeit University. I think you can start it now. And this is where they can go. This happened recently.
وانا رايح على الوقفه سمعت صوت طخ وتبشير على اساس هيفيت على طلاب عزة، طلاب جامعه يعني.
That's in Berzeit. The first picture with Sarah and May, which was taken on the Berzeit campus. I have volunteered at Berzeit University in the English class or not, I think. Yeah. So now they can go onto a campus, which they've done quite often. Go next one, please. Next one. Now, this is me. This is in Ramallah. That's Samia Khoury. Interesting woman. She's elderly. You can see she remembers Palestinians fleeing in what they call the Nakba. She was there. She saw people with belongings that they could carry on their back. And her father actually started Berzeit University. But let me read you something. She says, talking about her grandson, Shadi, that there was a demonstration and an Israeli car went astray when young Palestinian boys pushed that car. Shadi categorically, her grandson, denied being there. And two young boys whose testimony about Shadi was not substantiated because they confessed in court later that they were coerced and beaten by the interrogators to give his name, which they didn't know, as being there when they did not even know him. They, the police, stormed into the building, son's home, and pulled him out of bed. They asked him to go out of his room so he can get dressed, but they treated him brutally, broke his nose, and he was bleeding as they dragged him into the Jeep. So they not only have access to the roads of the university, the Israelis can come right into your house. In the middle of the night, this happened. In the middle of the night, this woman, elderly woman, was woken up by disturbance. Her son lived across the street. And this is not an uncommon occurrence, not uncommon. Oh, just by the way, when he was in the car, one of the insults that the captors threw at him was Christian. Christian. It's a derogatory term, Christian. And they are Christians. Sami is also the founder of Sabeel, co-founder, which is a religious organization for peace. Not very successful. Okay.
Close to the end here.
How many times is there?
You're at 12 minutes. right?
Oh, well, I'm gonna go a few things. Let's go to the, excuse me?
Yeah, well, we've been past 10 minutes, but we can,
Can I go a little,
this is up to the body to decide whether the rules should be suspended to finish the presentation. I just want to be fair to others that
That's
have
right.
something to say.
I'll show one more thing. Just go to the last one. I was gonna talk about Gaza, not that one. One before that. Yes, show that one.
Can we get a motion
Would you like,
to suspend or to like expand the 10 minutes?
you may have a motion to suspend the rules to allow the presentation.
Motion to suspend the rules to allow the presentation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, and there's been a motion and a second. This doesn't require discussion. This is a motion to suspend the rules for this presentation. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, can we, I think that the ayes have it. Is there an opposition to that ruling? Okay, so
I will speed it up. I can talk for hours about this. I will really go through it quickly. I will talk about Gaza quickly. Imagine that you're in Bennington County. You can't leave it. And Bennington County has 37,000 people. Imagine being there with 10 million people. 10 million people. You can't supply your food. You can't supply the medicines. That's all controlled by the Israelis coming in. And you can climb up to a building and you can see your land that you were kicked off of years ago. That was your land. 70% of the people in Gaza are refugees. They had the march against the wall. Nobody paid attention except the Israeli snipers who shot the healthcare workers, young men, and the press. We go back now. So just the walls, we go through the walls, yeah. Just remember that. Because it's the walls, next one. Ida camp, we'll go through that. Just remember that's very enclosed, walls, separating people. Remember the first picture of Wallachia with the walls there? So you live in Wallachia, and outside your house, you see your grounds, your farm, 50 yards away, and you can't get to it. You can't get to it because there's a wall there. The walls go for miles. Can't get to it. Next, please. Gaza, those are the ruins of Gaza. Next one. More ruins of Gaza, which we are paying for. We are paying for. Next one.
New York, oh, yes, one of the issues is that in this country, that the press, the US press, gets filtered news from this, filtered news. I pick the Times because it's no, but they have things that they say, there are memos that say you can't mention refugee camps. You have to mention crowded areas. You have to mention crowded areas. It's all about control, and we have no good reporters in this country who's asked the questions. No, don't do that. Ask the questions. So, I mean, you see something about, someone might mention that, well, the Palestinians in Israel are citizens, which they are citizens, but there's a whole different categorization. There's the nationalities. What nationality are you? What nationality are you? And why do they have it? They have the Palestinians and the Jews. Well, I don't think I have to ask you or tell you who gets favored. Palestinians, if they get married, somebody outside of Israel, they can't bring their spouse into Israel. They can't do it. And there are a lot of towns that 20% of the population are Palestinians on 4% of the land, and they can't move out of it because the committees, there's a law that says the town committees can vote on what they call social suitability of things. Social, well, we know what that means. And you hear about people that, say that Israel is the only democracy. Well, that's in the area. Well, that of course is not correct at all. Next one. Oh, well, if Israeli can control the Western press, but if they don't, if they have a journalist organization that they can't control, what do? They kill it. They kill it. This says 9 out of 10 journalists killed since October 7th were killed by Israel. Except we heard about one. Next one, please. And I'm sorry to rush. Shireen was a beloved journalist, shot on assignment by an Israeli sniper. And this was mentioned in all the papers. I don't know why, but they had to. Well, what happened next? Next one, please.
Years. No one, sorry to interrupt you, as you see that the police there, that there's.
This is they were taking her from the hospital
here
to the burial grounds.
While the casket has been taken through the gates there, they're holding back large numbers of the crowd, but I'm not sure what's going on here. You can see these pictures too, right? No one speaking, we can't hear him. Hang on a second.
You don't see this on American TV.
Well, I think we can hear you now.
I have never seen security forces attack a funeral with such audacity, with such chutzpah. The way this scene is evolving right now in front of us. They are just trying to carry, and they're trying to bury one of their own, and the police is there as if there's an enemy ahead of them. It's their own victim being buried, and here they are with such an incredible rudeness. Again, I mean, I have reported, I have analyzed, I've looked at news throughout the world for decades, and I've never seen a scene like this. Look at that. Attacking innocent people, carrying a casket. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say anymore. What are they expecting now? This is unbelievable.
So what I'm trying to say is, I think that a lot of the opinions of the American public,
Oh my God.
would be different if we had a press that gave us information. Correct. I mean, they don't have anything. So the final thing, I just want to let you know that if you were here, if the Force X came into town and captured North Bennington, and let's say you, and let's say you, and let's say you were going to Bennington and came to a roadblock, and you're sitting there in the roadblock, it goes on 2 hours, and I picked women for a reason. You have to pee. You have to pee. Down by the peanut, front of Bennington College. So you get out of your car and you want to head to Smith's garage. And they say, no. They say, no, you can't do that. You say, and they say, right behind that bush. And these are all true stories. I mean, I'm making it up, but I've heard people. They say, right, how would you feel? How would you feel in that? You feel like a Palestinian. What can you do? Nothing, nothing. Then, I don't know if there are tactics here, at a cemetery, you go up there once, there's a loved one, your crucifix is destroyed, destroyed. True story. What do? Can't do anything. How do you feel? Terrible. You're helpless. You're helpless. And the last one, worst one, let's say Sarah, and this is also based on a true story. Sarah, down here, lovely little kids, daughter drawing on the chalk in front of Powers. And this Force X, whatever it is, don't like it. They come there. And they don't like what they see, and they run over one of the daughters with their Jeep. Sarah comes running out, they say, stop. She doesn't stop, they grab her. I can hear the daughter screaming. All the way up there, I can hear Sarah screaming. All of my house, we've gathered. Jenny comes out of the library. Lonnie comes out of her place. The daughter's there. Somebody tries to get to the daughter. No, if you go past that line, they will kill you. And this has happened. This has happened. And so we're all standing there. And Sarah's daughter, who's wailing, it gets quieter. She's whimpering. And then just silence. And that's it. And we're stunned. And in that instant, in that when we're all frozen, we're Palestinians. We're Palestinians. And that's it. So Palestinians, why are they persecuted? Why are they asphyxiated? Well, I think we all know the answer. Why was the house in Wallachia knocked down? I think we know the answer. And this X here, this Force X that conquered us, who's paying for that? All of us. We're all paying for it. We're saying that this behavior is okay. You can continue killing Palestinians, take them out of the horses, yes. And I say now is the time that we can say, we won't have this anymore. And that's what this is about. We're finished with that. What I have to say. Thank you. I could go anytime you want to hear more. I could tell stories for hours down at Money's place. That I've been there 5 times. So I know.
Is there further discussion on the motion? Yes, it's Rogers.
I was asked by a friend to read a statement from Rabbi Michael Cohen. If you have not heard of Rabbi Michael Cohen, he's a very interesting person and you should know something about him. I read this not to change anyone's mind, but because North Bennington should be a welcoming, safe place for all voices. So I will read this for my friend who was a little afraid to read it themselves, and I will shorten it as best I can. This is Michael Ben Cohen, a Jewish sage and leader of ancient Israel who lived and worked in Jerusalem during the decades before 100 BCE. I'm not going to pronounce his name. Said, judge every person favorably. We should not prejudge others, especially when we disagree with them on issues about which we feel passionate. We should learn from this advice when it comes to the topics today and lower the temperature in how we discuss a very emotional issue. Rabbi Cohen for 30 years has divided his time between Vermont and an Arava Institute for Environmental Studies, where he successfully brings Palestinians, Jordanians, Moroccans, and Israelis together. They use the environment to overcome divisions, challenges that can only be addressed by working together. These initiatives create human relationships that transcend political differences, build trust, and allow them to confront more difficult issues. At that institute, there is a project called the Dialogue Project, a safe place where our participants can voice the harshest, most critical viewpoints that need to be said. The sessions can be intense, but they're spoken and heard with respect from all participants. And it is only by struggling through things together that better things emerge. I'll try to. The rabbi feels that there is too much energy spent on the conflicts about on the conflict about the conflict. He says that where apartheid-free communities are coming to many places in Vermont on town meeting days. He says, I give supporters of these resolutions the benefit of the doubt, absolutely affirming that much of what they say and stand for. But he says in this conflict, where there is this tremendous asymmetry of power, and it's easy to focus on just one side, but focusing on just Israel does not get us closer to a just solution. It's really long, but I'm not reading it all. He says, while motivation to address and improve the reality of Palestinians in the resolutions is vital, its full wording fails. Even with the best of intentions, it will not bring us closer to a solution. He offers a different solution, and that is civil society peace-building programs which enable Israelis and Palestinians to meet, discuss, and challenge things together. He says they need our support. Rather than support the apartheid-free community resolutions, we should demand that the Trump administration release the $50 million it cut off from these civil society people-to-people programs, and that Congress should refund these programs for reestablishment of the Middle East Partnership for Peace Act. And it goes on from there. And he says that Vermont communities could consider the adoption of more than 180 programs that the Alliance for Middle East Peace builds. It is a longer article. It was in the Vermont Digger on February 20th, 2026. But for those who have a different opinion, I just wanted to offer that because we're still all friends in Luke. So.
Is there further discussion on the motion?
Mary, just I think in response to Rabbi Cohen's letter there, I just find it to be important work that's being done that is inhibited by the apartheid, that is enacted upon the Palestinians. And so for that kind of work to take place, there needs to be a dismantling of the barriers in place that allow the coming together of people. And so I think just as a counterbalance to that kind of effort and that kind of work, it has to go hand in hand with acknowledging the reality of Palestinians and the impossibility that there is for them to come to the table with others because of their situation. That's what
I would just like to say that I think we can do both of these things. It's not an either or. I don't think, and I think that, although I don't quite understand what this is, and I would like someone to, in a very brief way, describe what it is we're supporting very specifically, that, I think we can do both. We can do something that is local and that feels like we have taken some sort of stand. And we can do other things, which many of us do, to try to change, larger policies.
Would it help if I read it?
I just, yes, I mean, I would like to know what this is.
I mean, we have 50 copies up here. I brought.
I don't have the, explanation as a list of. Should I,
Oh, yes, it's the same thing. Yes, sorry.
should I?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Hear this? Join the apartheid-free community movement, the pledge. We affirm our commitment to freedom, justice, and equality for Palestinian people and all people. We oppose all forms of racism, bigotry, discrimination, and oppression. And we declare ourselves to be an apartheid-free community. And to that end, we pledge to join others in working to end all support to Israel's apartheid regime, settler colonialism, and military occupation. This is a pledge based on the language of the International Apartheid Free Community Campaign.
Is there further discussion on the motion at this point? Yes?
The motion is just to vote on, like, just to join the community, but maybe there needs to be a new one to include that whole pledge, if that's in fact what's being voted. No, can't change it. The motion that the community is gonna have to vote on, does not include that one.
No, it does not. That would need to be an amendment to the item.
That's what I'm trying to figure out, what is it that we're voting? And I'm not clear on that.
I think the motion is to accept the pledge as it says on the agenda, and that pledge is there in the literature for us to see that it was made available along with the annual meeting.
Okay, is there further discussion on the motion?
Yeah, I mean, the agenda does say to join the movement and not to accept the pledge. Oh, sorry, yeah,
Stand up. There we go, thank you.
thank you, sorry. So on the agenda item, it does say, shall the voters of the Village of North Bennington resolve to be a part of the apartheid-free community movement in Vermont? So I do think that we should, so I do think that we do need, it is necessary to have another motion to accept the pledge in addition to that. Unless, does the movement mean the pledge? Like, that's, I think, what I'm confused about. Like, does the movement mean we have to swear in with a pledge? Thank you, Robert, sorry. Yeah, or thank you, John.
So just as a point of clarification here, I'm gonna attempt to continue to allow these questions to be raised, but that's not, I don't know if you're gonna find answers. Certainly not for me, but, you may be asking questions about something that you're gonna need to decide for yourselves as the body here. So is there further questions or motions? Anyone is free to make an amendment or a motion, but I can't answer the question of whether you should or shouldn't.
Can we remake the motion to accept how it is in the agenda, to accept
The current motion is standing as is now. It's been moved and seconded, and the discussion is pertaining to the motion as written in the warrant. Yes.
May I offer a little bit more information about the pledge and also, just read, a short letter?
Can you speak up some louder, please, or in front or something?
So to clarify, we'll give you some more information about the pledge. It says the communities can decide what action is most effective for them. By taking the apartheid-free pledge, your community commits to taking action against apartheid. How you do that is up to your community and your content. You may do education and commit to speaking out and ensuring that Palestine is always included in our broader movement struggles. For many communities, this can also mean engaging in boycott or divestment actions. So I think that brings up a larger question, is that it's also something that we can decide on as a community as to how we want to approach this. And if I can just take less than 3 minutes just to share with you a letter that I've written, that I wrote to the banner in response to commentary. As a Palestinian American, I have been living all my life in the shadow of Israel. Any critique of it has risked being called anti-Semitic, when in fact, ironically, as a Palestinian, I am a Semite. When Palestine is centered, the conversation is always shut down and a rationale given to not call out Israel for its atrocities. We need to be able to critique our government, to advocate for what is morally right, and to separate the individual from the state. Israel is a powerful country with many powerful advocates to defend it. The Palestinian diaspora does not have the same power. The apartheid-free pledge states, we affirm our commitment to freedom, justice, and equality for the Palestinian people and all people. If individuals and grassroots organizations don't advocate for the Palestinians, who will? It has been suggested in a recent commentary in the banner that not recognizing Uyghurs or Rohingyas, but focusing on Israel, presents a double standard and is anti-Semitic. In my opinion, this whitewashes our country's complicity in this genocide, a genocide that is being aggressively funded by our tax dollars. There are U.S.-funded conflicts around the world, but that should not and cannot be an excuse for not taking action. The attitude of all or nothing amounts to nothing, and nothing is not acceptable. This is a moment, a collective moment at town meeting when our village comes together, a time to voice our shared commitment to what is human, to affirm that we are not an insular village, but that we are part of a global community. That what we say to one another, how we behave to one another, and the concrete actions that we take together can make a difference not only here, but in other parts of the world. My father always told me that when he grew up in Palestine, Jews, Muslims, and Christians lived peacefully side by side. If we recognize our shared humanity, perhaps we can do the same right here in Vermont. I encourage us to support the apartheid-free community article and bring the Palestinians and all marginalized persons out from the shadows. You read something on that brochure that says, we commit, what was the language that we commit to? And doing such and such?
Your community commits to taking action against apartheid.
But the motion on the floor said none of that. It said, we join the anti-apartheid community. But nobody is voting on to commit to whatever she's reading. That's not on the floor. It was on the floor now, we join the anti-apartheid community, but there is no meaning or no explanation, nothing. It's nonsensical.
Is there,
Nobody's voting on that for sure now. It's not in the motion.
thank you. Is there further discussion?
Oh,
I've had someone who hasn't spoken here.
clarification, the mandate is what, other side, read.
We-
The mandate that we're voting on is the language that is in the proposal. That's not in the motion.
There's not a opportunity for crosstalk at this time. If the statements could be addressed to the moderator or the chair. Is there further discussion from anyone that would like to be heard that has not been heard already?
Have to be something on behalf of the property owner and that, their benefit, that account, and then draft something, and I, the possible, you do not very fast.
So if you're really asking me the question, and you're welcome, anyone can state what they want to state at the meeting. It doesn't have to be your own view, but you can share the view of someone else at the meeting if that's what you choose to do with your time.
Yeah.
Just for our clerk's sake, can you just say your names before you start speaking?
Yeah, I'm a non-North Bennington resident, but I'm reading something that's drafted by a property owner in North Bennington. Excuse me, who's not here right now. We should not even debate the legitimacy of the claim that Israel is an apartheid state. The claim has no factual or legal basis. What is more concerning is that this accusation often functions as an anti-Semitic trope when it is applied selectively to Israel, especially by individuals who ignore or excuse comparable or worse human rights situations elsewhere. When people single out the world's only Jewish majority state for unique condemnation while remaining silent about other serious abuses around the globe, it raises legitimate questions about their motives. This type of virtue signaling applies a double standard to the state of Israel that is not expected of any other country. Where are the resolutions condemning the Kurds in Turkey, the persecution of Uyghurs in China, systems of racial hierarchy, enforced labor in parts of the Gulf, or the mass ethnic displacement that has occurred in Myanmar? If the goal were truly universal human rights advocacy, we would see the same energy directed towards these situations. Instead, Israel is singled outright. The repeated use of the word apartheid is not primarily about criticism of a specific Israeli policies. Rather, it is often deployed to delegitimize Israel itself. Labeling Israel as an apartheid state implies that the very existence of the Jewish state is fundamentally immoral and illegitimate. In practice, this argument becomes a way to deny Jews the right to national self-determination, a right that is accepted from virtually every other people in the world. It is important to be clear. Criticism of Israel government policies is not inherently anti-Semitic. Israelis themselves debate and criticize their government vigorously. And Israel human rights organizations routinely challenge state policy. Legitimate criticism exists in every democracy. What crosses the line into anti-Semitism is when criticism becomes uniquely obsessive, applies standards not used for any other nation, and seeks to delegitimize the state's existence rather than debate specific policies. Before passing resolutions condemning Israel, it is reasonable to ask, what other global human rights causes has this report found taken up? When a community focuses its moral outrage against exclusively on the world's only Jewish majority state, while remaining silent on numerous other crises, the result is not principled human rights advocacy. It is selective condemnation. North Bennington's attempt to pass such a resolution should therefore be examined carefully. If the standard applied to Israel is not applied to any other country, then the effort risks becoming exactly what it claims to oppose: discrimination dressed up as a moral advocacy.
sign George for sure.
Yes, sir.
I'm an outside observer of Julia University from Brattleboro. And I just wanted to point out that the question of what you're voting on. In Shaftesbury, the town meeting founders on exactly this question, whether you're voting on the short language of the anti-apartheid pledge or the longer language that you read from the brochure, from which you're voting that language that about committing the town to do something or taking a stance. And I would hate to see this meeting fall apart. It's a legitimate question. People should figure out what you're voting on, but don't let the confusion about it mess things up at this stage. Just keep figuring that out.
Any further discussion on this motion? Okay, I'd like to hear from those that have not had an opportunity to speak first, and then we can, yes, sir.
My name is Evan Spiro.
Can you stand up
Stand
here?
up.
I'm a Vermont resident. I am a Puerto Rican, Jewish, human being. And I stand with the Palestinian struggle and also understand Jewish values and how that relates to Palestinian resistance and struggle. And I believe that this movement, and this apartheid-free community pledge, allows for a deeper, longer conversation about how we can move forward, to speak about larger issues of apartheid. And that includes all of the issues, both in Palestine and around the world. And I think that we can continue this conversation by moving forward with.
So my name is Lance Lane, here as a guest. I'm president of the congregation at the Open Bank, representing 5 families. I just simply want to say this is number one, as someone just mentioned over here, it didn't pass last night in Shaftesbury. If you watched the video, actually during the last 15 minutes, it actually became a very encouraging discussion among the board in a way to make it a less contentious issue. I'll just simply say also, please protect the fire break in polarization that we're suffering right now as a country, that these local meetings do provide. Do remember the primary focus here is the proper running of your village. And I would simply say that if you're going to start expanding into international affairs, that you at least take the opportunity to check the information that you're receiving and certainly validate any of the numbers you see in the brochures. Thank you.
Think further. I just want to make sure that everyone has a chance to speak. They haven't had an opportunity yet. Yes, sir.
So, I'm Sean Kavanaugh from Mechanic Street. I've been here for about a year. I was asked by Robert to, work with him in the presentation of this issue tonight, and as I heard his points, I realized I needed to educate myself more because I wasn't completely convinced about using the term apartheid. Having fought against apartheid in South Africa and having supported sanctions against apartheid, I understood it a different way. So I did my homework. And the short story is, I think we should support the motion to be part of the apartheid pledge. My understanding of life in Israel started in Vermont. I was living in Springfield, Vermont with my girlfriend who was Jewish. And I learned about Vermont from her, and she talked about her family and her childhood, and it was quite innocent and it sounded wonderful. She went back to Israel and is married and has children and grandchildren. And she writes to me regularly about the time that she's spending in the bomb shelters these days because of what's happening, because of what our country is doing to, in the war, in Iran. And she said to me, and she has talked a lot about what happens, in Gaza since October 7th. And she said, if my father saw what Israel is doing now, he would not have moved us here from Germany. So I've learned a lot from my Israeli friend, Michal, from Robert and from Lenny, and from this conversation. I think it's a beginning to start this pledge. We can discuss the semantics of whether it's apartheid or not, but there is injustices there. And if our government was spending billions of dollars funding injustices in other countries, we'd be talking about them too. We're not just singling out, I don't believe, the Israeli state. And my friend Michal is in the street every night protesting against the Netanyahu government with many Israelis who would agree with all of us right here about supporting this pledge. I'm also, I ran a business that ran presentation and negotiation skills. I offer my experience in moderating discussions using a technique called the Better Arguments Project in the village. If anybody would like to sit and actually use this as a beginning of adopting the pledge, but then understanding one another and understanding the perspective of Michal, who grew up as a girl in Israel, and for similar little girls who grew up in Palestine, and to understand how we got to where we are today. So I'm offering my time to do that for the village. So I'll stop.
Okay, I saw a hand here. Yes, sir. You say your name, please.
My name is Jacob Clark. I'm up at Bennington College. And I think a note that's important here, as we're debating the semantics of this, is that there is nothing in this pledge that is saying whether or not Israel has the right to be a state, that Israel has the right to exist, that Israel has the right to self-determination. We're not. This is actually not on the table, and I feel like that is being conflated into this argument. I think what we're talking about right now is taking a pledge to stand against apartheid and against injustice. And taking this pledge opens us again, like Melissa read from the brochure, to understand what that means for our community. And so this is, instead of being some sort of pledge that could be construed by some as anti-Semitic, we are actually taking a pledge to begin the process of understanding what justice may look like for our community and opening that discussion. I am Jewish. My mother was Jewish. My grandmother, who is 90, told me that she remembers when Israel was founded. And so I have grown up knowing that the state of Israel, which I think I have birthright to, is younger than my living grandmother, which is a difficult concept to square. And I really do think that when we're talking about systemic injustice, when we're talking about, when I think of my family who came to the United States in the 1930s from Eastern Europe, fleeing the Nazi regime, when we speak of the words never again when we're raised with this, never again for the Holocaust, it means never again for anybody. I think that we have to undertake that responsibility, that Palestinians are part of everybody, and that we really do strongly need to take this stance against apartheid and against injustice. And when we talk about numbers and statistics, I'd also like to argue that one dead child is too many dead children.
Could you clarify what we're going to be voting on?
So again, the motion is, shall the voters of the village of North Bennington resolve to be a part of the apartheid-free community movement in Vermont? Is there any further discussion on this, and recognizing the time at 9:36? I do have somebody that has not spoken yet.
Just very briefly. I was born in Israel. I don't object to the characterization of Israel as an apartheid state. But this thing, that's not what we're actually voting on. just to be clear, you know, the anti-apartheid pledge doesn't mention Israel. You know, I think it's a good thing to support personally, and, it's independent of the question of the atrocities that are going on, that, you know, are horrible in Israel.
Thank you. Sir, can you just state your name for the clerk?
Sorry, Dor Ben Amos, I am an Israeli.
You signed in earlier.
I haven't signed in, I'm not a registered voter here.
Okay. We
Just
just
for the
want to have it
spelling.
for records.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
Minutes.
Dor Ben.
Ben Amos, spell it
Yeah.
BEN-AMOTZ. DOR. I will
Got
come
it.
up and clarify.
Thank you. Okay, yes?
My name is Nina Anson, and I'm a member of Congregation Beth Valley, Vermont. I'm also the daughter of 2 Holocaust refugees. I am also involved in the effort to get the Vermont legislature to add Holocaust education to curriculum in Vermont. Vermont currently is the only state in the Northeast that does not require Holocaust education in the state. I also want to mention that it's not been mentioned before, the astronomical rise, even in the state of Vermont, in anti-Semitic incidents since October 7th. I know that many people like to talk about this issue and frame it as it has nothing to do with Jews. There is a reality here that has not come up tonight, which is critical to consider. It is undeniable that the conflict that this has created after the conflict began in the Middle East has inspired anti-Semitic violence in this town, in Vermont, in this country, and all over the world. It is spreading like a disease, and Jews in your community are frightened. There has been anti-Semitic graffiti written on the synagogue. There are kids in schools who have to hide their identity. The synagogue in Bennington, along with every synagogue in Vermont and every synagogue in the country and the world, has had to spend huge portions of their budgets to have armed guards outside the synagogue during every event and every service. There are expenditures for increasing the alarm system. People in the congregation feel that someone has to be armed at all times. The doors are locked. People can't go to services without free registering to attend for fear that someone will come to the synagogue with evil intent. No one here is talking about the impact in the community of this effort. I appreciate that people care about apartheid. And I will say this, the motion right now is simply nothing to do with this. The motion just says, we join the anti-apartheid community. There is nothing that's being voted on now that has anything to do with that brochure or Israel or anything. It's just, we join the anti-apartheid community. There is no explanation. There is no underlying nothing. That's all you're voting on. You're only voting on joining the anti-apartheid community with absolutely no definition and no supporting information. You can read as much as you want out loud in the meeting, but that's not what's getting voted on. I also want to say that what is the responsibility of the town to protect its Jewish minority? What is the responsibility of the town to consider its words and its actions in a situation like this? What is the effect on Jews in the town? Maybe you don't care about the Jews in the town. Maybe it's just, who cares? It's just, shrapnel on the floor of the war that you're fighting. But for me, it's not trivial. You threaten me, you threaten my child. You threaten the memory of my parents and my grandparents who lived through an actual genocide. When people say that these anti-Israel and anti-apartheid actions are only targeting a foreign government, let's point out what happened last week in West Bloomfield. The Lebanese-born attacker did not go after an Israeli consulate or an arm of the Israeli state. He rammed his truck into Temple, Israel, a synagogue filled with American families and preschoolers. And that is exactly how this type of rhetoric affects locals. Anger at Israeli policy gets redirected at Jews who are just living their lives here, turning political slogans and propaganda into justification for attacking a vulnerable minority. Zionists or the Jews in our own communities are fair game. And it creates exactly the atmosphere in which someone decides that attacking a local synagogue is a political act instead of a crime. 2 weeks ago, there was a hearing at the Senate Education Committee in Vermont on anti-Semitism in Vermont. I highly recommend that you all take an hour to watch that committee meeting. And you can hear from kids in Vermont schools all over the place the anti-Semitism that they are experiencing. They're being held responsible for the conflict in Israel, some of which have no idea even what's going on. And the anti-Semitic incidents in schools and in synagogues and in the communities is increasing. And the fact that no one has mentioned that in all of this talk about evil Israel, without even considering the impact on Vermont, on this town, on towns all over this country, is to me more telling than anything else. You are not considering your impact on the local community. And I will also say this, the job of a small town is to take care of its community members and the functioning of its community and its town bodies. What is to stop someone from going next month and saying, I want to vote, I want the town to vote on what's happening in Russia. I want the town to condemn what's happening in China. I want the town to condemn Ukraine. I want the town to condemn Myanmar. And every single time there's going to be a vote and people are going to be like, yeah, that's an unjust conflict. Let's adopt it. And then on the North Bennington website, you can have 15 resolutions up there all about foreign countries. I think what this resolution is bringing this town down that path. This is a divisive issue. It would make much more sense, which, excuse me, is what Shaftesbury is considering, to write a town pledge about human rights, which is important to every single one of us, and then have that be the statement of the village, or not something that singles out one country in the midst of a world that has horror shows going on in every corner, including ours, as we all know. So to single out Israel and do it in a setting where this is just a little town in Vermont that has other things that are more important to take care of right in front of its face, like the schools, like the budget, like poison in the water. I mean, there are 1,000 things that I could talk about. And all this time is nothing spent on dealing with the issues of the town. So I urge you to consider the impact of these activities on the Jews and other people in your town, in your communities, and in this country. And even if you decide to misguidedly vote for this pledge, every single one of you needs to show up at the synagogue and volunteer to help. Open your pocketbooks and donate some money to the security that the synagogue has to spend money on. You're not considering the impact of your actions on your neighbors and on your community and on Jews all over the world. And I think you should be ashamed.
Is there further discussion on the motion? Yes, there's been a motion to have a vote. That does take a priority. So is there a feeling of the body that you would prefer, as we said earlier, that you'd like to take a voice vote, a show of hands, or a paper ballot?
And I'd like to reluctantly, given the time, make a motion, we do a paper ballot in the interest of protecting voter privacy.
Okay, there's been a motion for a paper ballot. Is there a second? There's a second, and those in favor of a paper ballot, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
The motion carries. Yes. So the same rules apply with this, that we'll do it the same way that we did last time. If the registered voters would come to the front to check in and take a card. Point of order, yes?
What do you do, right?
Yes, sir.
So this is a yes or no question. This is shall the voters resolve to be a part of the community or no? If it's a yes or no. You're interested in the vote. If there's an attendance sheet around. Someone has the attendance sheet.
Thank you. I'm from. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
And just stay after.
What's,
I already did. I'm from, I grew up
Label, whatever it labels.
We figured that out.
You already did. I know. 2 feet, and then I was there, and then they said.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought this was the one.
Yeah. Talk later. In my weird way, I just think like.
I'm gonna forget lots.
Yes or no?
No, they went for an hour and 45 minutes of meeting. And they did the rest. When half hour, they talked about it. And they're trying to do this in order. The guy said, right.
No, they're gonna be. Over there, over there, it'll be their way.
Yeah, but feel free to shoot me an email. I'll get Frank's email address. I think it's a UPN. Sure.
Okay, folks, last call, if you're gonna vote, please come up to the front.
I'm not that much of an animal. Like,
I've never, I think it's great you're doing it. Thank you so much. But it's only once a year, right?
Okay, last call if you're gonna vote. Last call.
Well, it's. And that is.
Right here.
All right, everyone, we're gonna continue on with a couple of items while we count those votes. I'd like to announce the results of the trustee. We have David Shaughnessy with 46 votes, Tara Lowry with 43, and Jeannie Jenkins with 20. So David Shaughnessy and Tara Lowry are your. And we have one item left on the agenda to discuss any
business found proper when met, so this is a time when if there are other matters that need to be brought up at the floor, we can discuss them. I think we have a couple here. Can I just ask a question though? If you could take a look around and see if there is an attendance sheet around here somewhere? Oh, we got, okay, we've got it. Thank you. So other business?
I can give a quick little report in 5 minutes.
Oh, yes,
You could just technical veterans time. So my name's Will Greer. I'm one of our state representatives for North Bennington. I'm going to talk about a few points that we've been doing in the legislature for the first half of the session. I just want to make an appeal. If you don't already get my newsletter, I have a few copies of what they generally look like. You can sign up before you head out. I can send out the next one for March, kind of graphic of what we're doing in March, towards the end of the month. But I'm just going to real quick talk about some things that I think are most relevant to North Bennington around education. There's not been much progress on Act 73 in this part of the session. This document that I actually was just looking back at that had a lot of information on Act 73 just proves the fact that there was a lot of stuff that was passed that's either currently being litigated in court or the legislature has not come to a conclusion on, as it directly affects North Bennington and the village school and our ability as a non-operating district to continue to be the way it is. So there's stuff that's coming out of the Senate right now. They're on their 5th version of the map and trying to magically make it all pieced together. The House has not released one that's firm, but that's supposedly the starting point that they want to go to. So everything is pretty much on hold from foundation formula to construction aid, just so that we can focus on the maps, which I don't know how that's going to fully work out. But just a few things. We actually finally passed the first version of the bill out of the House today on our manufactured homes bill. So this is going to open up a lot around zoning and certain local regulations for people that have a manufactured home. And it opens up some funding and tax credits as well for that. On healthcare, on the I think the biggest bill that we passed, and I voted in favor of it on the roll call, was around vaccine immunization recommendations. What this bill did was, one, it restored what we lost at the federal level, but there's a deeper understanding to it than just restoring them for recommendations' sake. It allows the state of Vermont to continue to buy these vaccines at a lower cost and give them to consumers at a lower cost by opting into that program again. So there's several vaccines that if you were wanting to get, they will be still, stored at the pharmacies and the hospitals wherever you get your vaccine administered. And we've worked really close with the Scott administration on that. So that was one big thing on healthcare, on top of all the reforms that we put in place last year. On immigration, I'll just make a little point on this. This was actually one of those things you sign up for the legislature and you don't know where you're going to end up. And I found a lot of interesting stuff in the immigration world that I've been working on. And there's a bill right now in the Senate that actually spawned from a bill that I introduced last year in the House, which was H 511. And now it's Senate Bill 209, which essentially protects more non-public spaces like schools and hospitals from civil federal authorities, state authorities, you can count in that as well, for civil immigration matters. And the reason we did that is because, again, the flow of several of these places that I just identified, we're seeing a lot of uptick in Vermont, but also in New England counterparts, and those being particular places that people are coming to. But we're working on that. I have an amendment to the bill that comes from one of the bills that I introduced to S209 when it comes before the House. I think just real quick, and then I'll wrap it up. Just committee update from my end. So I serve on corrections and institutions, so we oversee the Bennington Battle Monument. That's usually, I think, the hottest topic that people like to talk about. That $40 million price tag that you all heard last year, I would not put much stock. We don't know what the federal government, if any aid is given, will be given to the monument. There's a lot of history that we've been looking at with that, but there's a representative on my committee. He and I are working together. We're meeting with the U.S. National Park Service to go over how they went through their renovations almost 10 years ago now, what they didn't expect to happen, because there's only 3 monuments like the Bennington Monument and the Washington Monument in the United States. So we're working on that. Also, another thing that comes through our committee on the corrections side, of course, related to immigration is a lot of the detainee population that we have. We're providing legal counsel as is required by the Constitution. We're increasing levels of funding for that appropriate to meet the matter. And we also have an MOU that we've worked out with DOC and the ACLU and other partners that are working in that particular field. So that was an update on the committee end. The big thing with taxes, I will wrap it up with taxes. Your property tax bill for North Bennington, I forget the exact percentage, but the statewide average is going to be 15% if the legislature does not do anything this year. There are two options before the legislature. I'm still debating both options because I think there's merits to both. Is that option A is we buy it fully down with the general fund transfer that we've done for several years now. That would bring it down to a statewide average of about 6%. The option B in this situation, or option two, I forget if I started with numbers or letters, but the second option to that is that we buy it down over 3 years and phase out the buy down. So that would mean that this year it's going to be about 11%, and the next year will be about 5%, or the year after. So there's options that the legislature is pursuing right now to make sure that people's property taxes in the future are affordable, but also right now, because that's the difficult balance we're at with these two options. The third option, of course, is we do nothing. But I don't think that's where the legislature or the governor's at in that. So for your taxes, I think that's the best way to sum that up. If you have any questions, please come talk to me afterwards. I'll be here, and I'm going to drive back to Montpelier. I've done 5 hours in the past 24 hours. So we'll do another run. We'll do another one.
I have one post remark to that. Our taxes are nowhere near that figure. It increase. They do increase, but it's well under 15%.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you have the percentage though? And I forgot to mention that all of our.
Well, I think it's around 5, 6,
Okay.
percent. Yes.
Yeah, and so I should just mention with the buy down, that gets applied evenly across the board. So North Bennington will get the same proportional amount that other towns are. It's not specific to higher tax, there are communities where the tax rate's going up higher, it's spread across the board, just to know.
Right. So we'll actually reduce that increase. As a thing.
Yep. Mary Rogers.
Before we all run to the door, and I know we all want to, Matthew Patterson, it was past his bedtime, he left, but I really wish we could have done a round of thank you and applause for Matthew. Like serving this village, as so many people have done, he's extraordinary. And we are going to be planting a tree in his honor, since Matthew has been involved with tree committees and things for so many years. We will be having a tree with a nice plaque in his honor across from the post office where he works, so stop it and tell him.
Is there any further business to discuss?
What's the result of the?
Okay, and the result of item number 4, shall the voters of the village of North Bennington resolve to be a part of the apartheid-free community movement in Vermont is 28 yes, 33 no. The motion is defeated. Okay, and is there any further business, or I would entertain a motion to adjourn? So moved. It's been moved, seconded, and if you would vote with your feet and leave the building, that would be satisfactory. Thank you all very, very much for being here.